So welcome to today's Greater Life CoffeeCast. And you may have heard, of course, the phrase, pride comes before a fall. What about pride comes before a rise? What about its total opposite? And of course, here I am not referring necessarily to the pride of arrogance, but rather being proud in terms of celebrating oneself, taking pride in a job well done. And so that's my question to you, is how good are you at taking pride in your achievements, being proud of yourself? And I ask because last night, as I was preparing the home for the arrival of some Airbnb guests, I had an opportunity to lay out for them the scones and a few other bits and pieces that I put out to welcome the guests, some fresh cut flowers from the garden. And in taking a moment to make sure that all the cutlery that I put out was lined up perfectly parallel with the edges of the cream and the label of the jar of jam, I took a little moment of pride in celebrating that I cared enough to attend to those little details, that the spread I'd laid on the table for welcoming them was a little achievement, that it looked good. And so I allowed myself to feel pride in my achievement, to be proud of the efforts I'd put in to get to that point. And yet, I recognise how rarely that has been a part of my life until fairly recently. Because there's something really important about taking pride in one's achievements, being proud of oneself. That is that it is almost the essential closing act of any task. That when we do something, the hope is we have done it to the best of our abilities and we've done it well, and therefore the celebration of that fact is a feeling of pride in what has occurred. And of course there is a tightrope to walk, because we don't want that pride of being proud of oneself and one's achievements to turn into the pride of arrogance and whatever else attends that that one of the deadly sins. But it feels really important, and I think from a happiness point of view, what we know is, particularly if you have any kind of neurodivergence, I know this for myself, the beneficial neurochemicals that get released when something is achieved not only allows me to feel happier, but it will then be it will give me momentum to carry on to the next thing and the next thing, and to therefore likely have a much better day, a much more productive day, because I allowed myself to take a moment to be proud of myself and to celebrate what has occurred. So how are you with that? I think one of the things that I watched the other day was the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary. And in it he talks about always staying hungry. And I think it's really important to always have a vision that is greater than oneself, a mission that perhaps you couldn't almost achieve in one's own lifetime, but that you are striving towards. And I think I've mentioned this in previous coffee casts, to then celebrate the small wins. Celebrate the small wins that allow for life to help us to take a giant leap. And being proud of what one has achieved. giving oneself the metaphorical pat on the back, maybe literal. Like, this is such a profound and simple act of self-love, and its benefits ripple out through the rest of the day, the week, the month, the year, the life. And I make this CoffeeCast because I know how poor I have been at it, and know how powerful it has been to begin to celebrate my efforts, celebrate my results, celebrate myself as a person, as a soul. And so my invitation today is to find something that you can be proud of. And to allow yourself to genuinely feel that. Feel pride in who you are, what you've achieved, coursing through every cell in your body. And from there, to then move on to the next thing, topped up with love for yourself, gratitude for being alive, and joy for the world. All right.